In a private adoption, do couples come to you and with the birth mom, or do you help them find a birth mom? How does that work?
In both ways. We have situations throughout the year where birth mothers will contact our office just because they are looking in the phone book and see that we do adoptions. And so under those circumstances, we at any given time have numerous families who are actively trying to build their families. And so what I'll do is get their permission to give the name to the birth mother and their phone number. And so I kind of exchange that information between the two. But it's up to them then to go forward, and the birth mothers usually will get 3 or 4 names from us, and they will go and actively, each of them, contact one another and to do whatever they're going to do. With that circumstance, we don't, if the client comes and chooses to hire our office, great, but we don't charge for anything like that. And then a lot of times the client is contacting our office and saying, hey, we've found a person who would like to let us adopt their child, and what can you do to help us? And so under those circumstances, we kind of set forth the plan that they need to follow and to have successful adoption.
I do a lot of work, with private adoptions as a social worker, and oftentimes I'd say about 80% of the time it's the family has found, somehow got connected with an expectant parent, and then they either call the attorney first, and the attorney says, well, you have to get a home study, so they call me, or they call me and say, what do we do? Because oftentimes these people haven't even really been actively looking for a situation. And so so typically it's that situation. Sometimes we have families that are just wanting to adopt, and I'm sure you get this too. They just want to adopt. They, for whatever reason, have decided not to work with an agency, and so they get the ball rolling with getting a home study done and hiring an attorney, or at least knowing which attorney they'll use if something happens. In your private adoption, what were kind of the circumstances that brought you to that? Well,
and I think as you're talking, the thing I'm thinking about, the biggest advantage with working with an agency is that they can advertise. And so I think they're more visible to birth families and birth parents. And so that's kind of a draw for them. But our birth mom contacted us privately through my mother-in-law, and they were friends. So with private adoption, I think your biggest advantage is going to be word of mouth, for sure. Getting the word out to your family, to your friends, having pass-along cards and a blog and things that are going to make you visible, because you need to be your own advertiser, basically.
Well, with social media, it's so much easier to do that.
It is.
Well,
so
there's even people that specialize in helping families to get the word out, and there's profile sites and those kind of things that you don't even have to necessarily be working with an agency to do. So.
Yeah, so if you're not going to be with an agency, I really think that's a big part of private adoption. If you want to go that direction, is you've got to really advertise for yourself and promote yourself through those avenues. My mother-in-law knew that we were an adoptive family, and so that's what made her think of us. Obviously, we weren't actively searching, but just sharing your story, getting the word out that you're adopting, telling everyone you're adopting. Sometimes that's kind of a hard barrier to break down because it's a private issue and you don't necessarily want to talk about fertility and adoption and all those things with everyone in the planet. But really getting the word out that you are looking and that you're an adoptive family will help other people to recall your name at the right moment, maybe.
And I think the key here is to realize that you're trying to find your family. Other people just create their family, but you're trying to find your family. And I tell that to all my clients. It's a job that you undertake, and make sure that you're doing what you've just said, and that is, make sure your Facebook page is a little bit better than just you like everything. Try to help the world see your family for who you are, and I think there's a lot of success in that. Often these adoptions are 1-2 people removed. These private direct placements. It's very rare that you hook up with a complete stranger. And to be honest with you, the ones that are within 1 to 2 degrees of relationship, they're the more safer adoptions. And the issues that seem to accompany direct private placement adoptions, aren't there as much with the
Yeah, those connections, I think, if you are to choose a direct placement, private adoption, maybe not, you don't want to be maybe super close, like adopting your best friend's child or something. Sometimes that can have its own issues, but what makes it work a lot of the times, what makes it so that maybe you don't need the agency or things like that, is because you have either an established relationship or an established relationship with somebody else that can help mediate some of those things, and that's what makes it work in a lot of these situations. Like you had a lot of people in your private adoption helping the birth mom independently, people that knew you but really cared about the birth mom more than they cared about you, and then you had people that you were either paying or that you were not paying, that you just had support from.